Hey everybody, and we're back. Chapter... what is it? 3-1? Something like that. Let's keep it going. So I kind of left off towards the end of this chapter anyway. So let's just get right back into it. So here just kind of got through a part. I sort of like the challenge that the part presented, but it was still pretty aggravating when I didn't have any ammo. Alright, so let's see what this merchant has to offer, what I have to offer to him. So I'm just gonna... okay. Let's see, I sort of started to pick apart this room. I know there's a treasure in the corner of the room, but I can't access it quite yet. It's up there, and I don't have access to that just yet. Later on, I'll be able to go ahead and find out whatever it is. So we're moving along, slowly but surely. Okay. So here we go.
You alright?
I'm fine! Leave me alone!
Ashley, wait!
Yeah, that's right. Run away from the guy that's trying to protect you, dumbass. Okay, let me walk right towards these strange markings in the wall. Yeah, who didn't see that coming? Here's the thing. What bothers me about this particular cutscene is that her arms aren't actually bound, so she could theoretically try to climb out of that. I don't know, that's just kind of like some stupidity right there, in my opinion. But this marks the first time, and I think 2 or 3 times, where Leon winds up alone after rescuing Ashley. So we're gonna go ahead and report our status.
Hunnigan, what happened? The transmission got cut off. Salazar, how'd you...
We've jacked the line. We didn't want you telling everyone any unnecessary information.
Where's Ashley?
Ah, so she fell into one of our wonderful traps. We'll make sure we find her. Don't you worry about her. Oh yes, I let our miserable insects out for some exercise down in the sewer.
Thanks. That should keep me company, 'cause boredom kills me.
I look forward to our next encounter in another life.
Okay. So yeah, I always get like a bit of trepidation when I'm dealing with this part right here. With the, I think the term for them is the novistadores. The shit that doesn't see, pretty much. That's what it translates to. But I like them. And I like spoilers. I actually like the death. One of the deaths that they can cause to Leon. Thankfully, I seem to fare pretty well against them, but if they spit acid on Leon and Leon winds up dying, you actually get treated to this pretty interesting death animation where Leon is you actually see Leon, half of like Leon's face is burned away, and I kind of like that, and that's pretty awesome. I actually sort of had a conversation with someone where it was just like, for all the gore, and I actually like the gore in this game, and to me, I don't like gore just for the sake of gore. It has to be disturbing in a way. So there you see it. They're invisible for the most part, but you can kind of see the distortion in the air, and that gives you a hint as to where they are. They always disturb me for some reason, and I think it's partly because of the death scenes that they can cause. But for all the cool and interesting death scenes, and it's mostly like decapitations, and they show it to you full force. Like they don't hide anything. If Leon gets caught by some dude with a chainsaw, you see in all its sort of grisly glory, that Leon's decapitated. for all that awesomeness, Resident Evil 5 just does away with all of that. And like, you don't even get to see the gore in the games. In that in the 5th game, it's really ridiculous. I don't know why. I'm out of space again. So yeah, I think in an upcoming video, it's not gonna be too far from now, I'm gonna go ahead and start organizing the inventory between videos. And I think you guys can trust me enough that I'm not cheating. You'll know that I have exactly the same inventory. It's just that I organized it between recordings, just to make life a little easier, and just to satisfy my OCD, of course. So let's see over here. So I like these insects here. Of course, they totally butchered them in the 5th game because they had this thing called the Reaper. And you don't even get a satisfying death scene with them. I don't know why they did away with that. I mean, for me, Resident Evil has always been the tamer series with respect to pushing the envelope on certain things. For example, this is the first game where you actually feature Kurt, where you actually... No. You know, I was gonna say this is the first game, chronologically speaking, that had cursing, but if you really think about it, this game came out in 2004 originally, but the remake and I guess 0, and those came out a couple years before this one, they had some cursing in the games. So, but it kind of took a while for that to happen. And then the gore. They giveth and they taketh away. They gave us some here, and then they no longer gave us any. But I suppose it's okay. Then I'm trying to think about the 6th game. The 6th game, I always like to kind of block memory about it because it's one of those things where it was just like I played the game and I was just completely unsatisfied by it, and I said I'm good. I played it for the story, just to see what they did with it, and I of course wasn't satisfied, and I said okay, it is what it is. So it'll be interesting to sort of see what the future of the series is. I know there's going to be a second Revelations game coming out sometime in 2015, and possibly Resident Evil 7, although I don't know much about that yet. And who knows what else. I'm still holding out hope that they are gonna have a 3rd CG movie, but for God's sake, please focus on somebody besides Leon. I mean, we've had a lot of Leon action. Leon's a cool character. I'm not trying to criticize his character, but it's just, you have so many other characters. Try to focus on somebody else, in my opinion. And speaking of the Resident Evil movies, just the other day I was watching Apocalypse again. They were just randomly giving it on a movie channel, and I have to say, yeah, it is just this, at the risk of jumping on a bandwagon, and I actually kind of hate doing that, as you're getting a nice scientific lesson here, but it's so true. For me, the first movie was actually pretty good, and I think it's mainly because they didn't, ironically, feature any of the game characters whatsoever. They kind of had an interesting story that could have fit perfectly well in the universe of the games, and I think it was an interesting premise, and it was no masterpiece, but it was decent. It was livable. But then when they started to introduce all the game characters and they started to butcher them, that's when I started to have a problem. So it was Apocalypse, which was the second movie, which had Jill Valentine. It had Nemesis. It had a stupid explanation for why Nemesis existed. And not only why Nemesis existed, but also what Nemesis's function was. So I don't know. Speaking of which, I mean, like I said before, it's a guilty pleasure, so I'm curious about what the 6th movie is going to be all about, if they're going to include any additional game characters. So, only time will tell. I'm just going to go ahead and run in here very quickly. Let's see what... Oh, another beer stein. Okay. Not a beer stein. Excuse me. Butterfly lamp. And the cats... Not the cat size, but the gems that you collect from the Novicidores go in the butterfly lamps. So, that's one good thing about having them. Alright. I'm down to 42 rounds in my... Oh, valve handle. Okay, now we have a Resident Evil game, folks. You see, any self-respecting Resident Evil fan knows that no Resident Evil game is complete. No legitimate Resident Evil game is complete without a valve handle. So, now you know, in case you didn't. Alright, so we're starting to put together the butterfly lamp. I think there's still more enemies around. Oh, there we go. Speaking of which... Oh, crap. So what exactly are these things? Where did they come from? Are they Las Plagas infecting insects? Is that how that works? I don't know. You know, for all the crap that I give the Resident Evil series, particularly the later games, in a way, and I know it's going to sound very strange coming from me, I kind of hope that the series doesn't die. I hope that it doesn't die, at least not while I'm alive. I mean, as long after I die, who cares, right? I don't think my kids are going to have, you know, my future kids are going to have love for the series like I do. It's something special to me because, like I said, and I don't know if I could ever convey the precise feeling that I had when I was first introduced to the second game. I mean, back in 1998 for me was the year of Resident Evil 2 specifically, and it was just like every day I played this game. Every day I was just obsessed with it, and I could not get enough of it. I loved it. And, you know, on and off I played the games throughout the years since, but so it's just, I mean, if you really think about it, for more than half of my life now, it's really crazy. For more than half of my life now, I've had this like strange love affair with this wonderful, at times nonsensical, oh my god, game franchise, now movie franchise, and Lord knows there's other media that Resident Evil is in. So thankfully we have a little bit of a rest from the Novicidores for now. They'll be back later, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here. In a way, I'm kind of like, I feel a sense of liberation not having Ashley around, so you just have to kind of worry about Leon alone, and that's kind of nice. Alright, so have to be a little careful with these pendulums. Oh dear. I'm just gonna kind of inch my way closer. There you go. Now it's a little tricky with two of them going at the same time, but I'll manage. Like I always try to, at least. Not too bad. And I kind of sit and think, I'm like, there's really no other... Look, at this point in my life, I wish I could, but I know just kind of feasibly, you know, thinking about things and how feasible they are, it's not gonna happen where I'm gonna be able to get so engrossed. Hello, cult ritual. Did I step into Silent Hill or what? There's not really gonna be... I don't really foresee an opportunity for me to get really engrossed in a gaming franchise And part of the reason is because of the way games are now. I'm just not really as intrigued by them as I used to be. See, I'm gonna try to kill the red guy because I think he has a jewel that I really want to get from him. So that was the reasoning behind me using the grenade. And oh, he's still alive. Whoops. Let's see if I can get him. Okay, he did die. And this poor guy got trapped behind the door. So he's kind of at my mercy. Now, the main kind of factor behind that is just that it's just time. When you're a kid, you have all the time in the world. I mean, besides school, of course, but you don't have to. Look at the balls on this guy. I thought he was dead. I guess I was wrong. And that's why, this is why I wanted to kill him. By the way, I think the merchant is still here. I think he might actually wound up... This is the same area where I first lost Ashley. But I'm just going to go ahead and pick up whatever goodies I was able to get. It's just, you know, as you become an adult, I mean, you guys all know this. You guys are adults, and probably some of you guys have kids, so you have even more responsibilities than I do. It's just, where do you have the time to actually be so engrossed in a video game where you just can become so obsessed with it? I mean, it's hard for me to explain the kind of the sentiment that I had playing Resident Evil 2. To me, there was nothing like it, and there never will be anything like it. And it kind of makes me sad, but I'm thankful that I'm just like, you know what? I enjoyed the fact that video games had been and continues to be my hobby. I mean, that's just something so amazing. That is, like, honestly one of the constants in my life. Video games have been a factor in my life since before I was born, to be honest. And I'm not even exaggerating about that. And they still continue to play a role. I mean, it's a much smaller role now, just time-wise, and just, you know, I don't have the time, and I don't have as much time, and I don't have as much energy, you know, and I have a lot more kind of responsibilities, and I mean, but that's just adulthood, that's just life, you know, and I understand that. But it's amazing. So I don't know, I kind of like it. And it's just thinking like, wow, I don't know if anybody felt this way about a game as I did with Resident Evil 2. I don't know. I'm sure that's the case. But I know that I will never be able to replicate that ever again. And I know I feel that nostalgia. And nostalgia almost always is the sign of age for people. You know, so it's like, oh, I remember when this was like this, or I remember when that was like that. And I have that a lot.
Welcome.
But
Got a selection of good things on.
and it's always like a
sale. What are you
bittersweet thing, because
selling?
it's just like you remember the joy you felt when you experienced a certain thing, but then you remember like, okay, you know, it's not gonna be like that anymore. But you know, c'est la vie, as they say.
Is that all?
I'm just gonna sell a few of these things,
Thank you.
and
Come back.
that's it. Okay, so what do we have here? This is going to be a little bit of a shorter video, somewhat shorter video, not too long. I know the previous video was a bit long. So, no comment about this thing? This is obviously like an organ or something. Maybe a small animal? I really can't tell, because Leon won't comment about what that was. I'm just going to save. And I'll be back in the next video. Later.